Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CW Live. My name is Chris Webb, Head of Communications at the CW. Hope everyone's well tonight. Massively important session for our BT and Openreach members, where we're going to be talking about how we escalate the dispute, how we set a path to victory, and to delivering all of you the pay rise and the future in the company that you deserve. Delighted to be joined, go on the left on our screen, by our General Secretary, Dave Ward. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening.
President of the CW, Karen Rose. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening.
Deputy General Secretary, Andy Kerr. How you doing, Andy?
Good evening, Chris.
So good evening to all of you. More importantly than obviously even our three guest speakers, or all of you watching. So let us know where you're watching from. Let us know that you're a member, how long you've been a member of the union. Let us know that you're back in the union for what's going to be announced today. So without any further ado, whilst you do that, there's going to be loads of time for questions for you today. But I'm going to have statements from our officers to open up, starting with Karen, if I could come to you first.
So good evening, everybody. So last week, you will know that we sent you a communication on Friday to let you know that despite us having some talks with BT, that it had failed to produce any kind of serious offer in respect of our dispute. So following that position, we felt that we have no choice now but to up the ante. And so for that reason, today we have served notice on BT for further strikes. There will be 4 24-hour strikes on the 6th, the 10th, the 20th, and the 24th of October. And unlike previous strikes, where we have arranged and made exemptions for our 999 services and for the operators that work in those sections and some of the sections that support the 999 services, on this occasion, we don't feel that we can offer emergency cover anymore, because our members in those services, who are some of the lowest paid workers in BT, feel that they have been taken for granted, totally disrespected, and completely undervalued by the company. And therefore, we are not prepared to put them in the position where they've been exempted from strike action that actually many of them were desperate actually to support, because they feel as if they wanted to make a stand. So that's a change to the previous arrangements. And we are very, very certain that it is BT that have created this position. Our members feel really let down, and so that's the decision that we have taken.
Thank you, Karen. Obviously, a serious escalation of the action there, a serious response to a very serious situation. David, we'll come to you first, if I can, for comments.
Yes, so I mean, Karen's laid out the decisions of the executive in terms of further industrial action. It is an escalation of the strikes from our perspective, your perspective. It's exactly the right decision. We've had a really good meeting today with all the branches, the reps, and national briefing, and they were very supportive of us escalating the strike. I think we've got to remember that we're in a dispute that was always going to be tough. We never pretended anything otherwise, but you know, we're here tonight to make it absolutely clear that we are in this for the long haul. The more that you examine the position of BT, it's just completely unacceptable. And you know, the level of hypocrisy and the level of greed and the arrogance that they're showing towards the workforce, treating the workforce with utter contempt when they can afford to put more money on the table and give a decent pay rise, good pay rise to our members, is just something that we will never ever accept. So you know, we're here to deliver a message, obviously, to our members tonight, to have a proper conversation and a discussion about all the things that we're going to do in the lead up to the dispute. We're here to make sure that you're re-engaged with this. We know some of you have been waiting to see what is going on, and obviously it was important that we had the opportunity to have some talks. Andy will give you, you know, a report on those talks. But you know, our message is absolutely, we're in this until we win this dispute. We're not walking away from it, and that message is there to be delivered to BT as well. We've got some other plans that will freshen up the dispute, and we'll be talking about those. We will use one of the strike days as an event where we'll be asking people, our members, to gather at a certain strategic point that will bring a lot of publicity on this dispute. And we'll be asking other people in the labour and trade union movement to support us on that day. So we're looking for a mass gathering of our members, and we'll use one of the days to do that. We're also almost ready now to deal with the shareholder stuff that we've been talking about, and we will be getting that out there before the first day of those strikes. And we'll be also being reasonable with the company, and we'll be putting forward a proposal on how we see this dispute being resolved, and explaining in a very clear way that it is affordable as well. And that's important that we do that at the same time. We'll be making that a public position at some point before the dispute. So, the company will be under pressure to explain why they're not negotiating. They'll have the opportunity to negotiate, and we're always in this to try and find a resolution. But, our resolve has strengthened. We're not letting them get away with this. There's so many crises at the moment that our members are facing. Well, there's another crisis that's going on. There's a moral crisis in the boardroom of BT, and we have to stand together now, and we have to see this through. We have to take these people on to the point where we get the agreement that you deserve.
Thank you, Dave. Andy?
Yeah, I'll just sort of follow on from Dave, and he said about negotiations. We have actually met with the company two occasions, two formal occasions. We did meet with the HR director of BT Group and the ER Group Strategy Director. And we laid out quite clearly our position to them, where we believed that quite clearly they could afford it and more money. We laid out a sort of position to them because that's what they asked for. But in return, after rejecting what we said to them, the position was back in their court, if you like, and for them to put a proposal to us. They have failed to do that. We met them for a second occasion, and they failed to do it again. There is no movement from the company whatsoever, and that's the reason we are escalating the strike action today. There's been plenty of opportunity for BT to come to the table and sit sensibly down with us to negotiate, but it takes two to negotiate. We have been saying all the way through it, and we've been absolutely clear on this, that we will negotiate with the company. And negotiation, we understand it. We've been negotiating for many years, Dave, Karen, and myself, and we know that you have to start from a position. And yes, sometimes you have to make compromise to get to a deal, and we're prepared to do that, but only if it's a sensible deal. It's something that actually does our members good and puts more money into their pockets. And that's where our position. The company's position is they can't afford it. They don't want to put any proposals forward to us. In fact, they've actually said until they see their second quarter results, probably announced in the 3rd of November this year, they're not in a position to do it. And that's just not good enough. Our people are going through real issues at the moment, and going to get much worse in this country, not just for our members, but for members of all trade unions and all workers. And that's why we're involved in bigger campaigns in that. But with respect to BT, we're sitting in a situation where this multi-billion-pound company can quite clearly afford it. They can afford to give as we kept on saying, £761 million in dividends, and they can't give the workers a decent pay rise. So we are going to keep arguing the case that we've done, but we are willing to sit down and talk to them. But BT have to come to the table. And I'll just say one thing about the 999. It's with a heavy heart that we do this. Really is with a heavy heart, because we did the right thing. We were on the right side when we said, for the citizens of this country, we're going to give them 999 cover. But the way our members and voice services have been treated over the last long period of time, some of the lowest paid workers in BT, they have worked tirelessly here. And as Karen says, they did the loyal CW members who wanted to come out and strike, but they understood that we wanted them in. But enough is enough as far as we're concerned in this. And it is now, we're saying to them quite clearly, we're going to withdraw that. And when we say we're going to withdraw 999 cover, we're going to withdraw all call-out cover for BT in any emergency. And that's where we've got to. And BT has driven us to this position. But BT can stop us. They can stop it if they want. What they've got is between now and the 6th of October to come to the table, sit down, put a real proposal to us that we can discuss, and if we can get a deal done by the 6th of October, or certainly well down the road of getting a deal done, we can reconsider that position. But until BT do come to the table, we're quite clear. We'll withdraw that labour. We were asking all our members to go and strike on those 4 dates. And we know it's tough for our members to lose 4 days' pay. And we understand that. But this is not just about now. This is about the future, but everybody's future in this company. So, you know, this is a battle that we're getting into. And as Dave says, we're quite clearly, we're here for the long haul. We ain't going to walk away. I'm certainly not going to walk away for our members on this one. So all I would say to you is, you know, please support the union, support your work colleagues, come out and strike on those days and show the company we mean business.
Thank you, Andy. So great response from the members. Loads of good questions. We're going to get into them starting from now. So Karen, if I could come to you first. Lots of people are asking about the logic behind the calling of the separate days in industrial action, and quite a few members, to be fair, in the chat are saying that they think we should have 4 days in a row. Why are we splitting the days up? Can you give some sort of background to the union's rationale on that?
Yeah, certainly. So look, we went to our branches to ask for feedback, basically, so now, having already taken 4 days of action, we've got an awful lot of feedback from members who have taken part in the action, members who have taken part on the picket lines, various different units, you know, and we've had an awful lot of feedback about when would be the best time to take the action. And I suppose the issue is that never mind which day we choose, it's always a case of somebody else might think that a different day would be better. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to take the majority of the feedback for the best days when people believed that it was right to take the action. Monday is always a busy day everywhere, so that seemed like a good idea. And also, we think that a Thursday is a very busy day that is coming towards the end of the working week. So we chose those days. I think that it's based on the feedback that we have from the branches and from the members concerned. I suppose it's a case that there'll always be somebody who thinks the different day would be better, as I said earlier. But the reality is, those are the days that the majority of the feedback said would be the best days to take the action, and so therefore they're the ones that we've gone with. By the way, I should say as well that we have made sure that although the action days are all in October, they are actually split over 2 different payments. So it actually won't be 4 days out of 1 month's pay. It will be 2 days out of one and 2 days out of the other.
Thank you, Karen. Dave, another question that's been asked repeatedly in the chat is around the need for media coverage, the need for an increased level of media coverage. People frustrated, saying the union isn't doing enough, and basically wanting us to shine more of a light on our members' cause in the media.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be working on that. We're trying to do everything we can. I think it's, you know, important that we're also honest with you about some of the disputes that are out there at the moment. And there's a truth behind this. We had this discussion earlier on today at the briefing, where if you look at the situation with RMT, the railway workers, you know, they will always get more coverage than what we're going to get because of the reality of the industrial muscle that they've got when they pull the trains. It's such a visible dispute for everybody in the country. So, you know, that's the truth. When you deal with Royal Mail, because there's effectively 120,000 people who are down in every street who know their customers, that's always going to get a little bit more publicity than what we have been able to get at the moment with BT. But look, we have done it. I mean, another thing that becomes difficult is that sometimes the interviewers themselves, and we've tried to do this at every opportunity, you know, they only want to talk to you about a certain particular dispute, and the whole interview from their perspective is set up on that basis. But let's remember, we did get some very good coverage in the first strike. We've got other coverage during the course of it. And I think the truth is that by ending the exemption on 999 services, I think that will pick up the media and give us the coverage that we need to shine a light on this. I also believe that the things that we're going to do in terms of one of the strike days being used as an event where we'll expect all of you, the branches, to really, help you lay on maybe coaches and whatever to get everybody to a central point, and we'll pick that event to maximise the pressure on BT. We think that will attract a lot more media coverage. So, we're going to do our very best to get that media coverage. I think as well, if we put out a very clear, open position to the public, which we're going to put to the company prior to the strike, again, that will set it up in a different way. I mean, this guy, Philip Jansen, he hasn't been anywhere near any of the media channels. And another thing that we were talking about today with the branches, some really good points that were being made by the branches and the reps, is that the media should be turning on him and actually demanding that he starts to come out. So we'll start to put that forward as well in the lead up to the dispute. So we're confident that with all of the plans that we're putting forward, we will see more media coverage coming forward over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Dave. Andy, quite a few people are asking, making the point and saying they've been supporting the action, but then when they go back to work, the company is quick to catch up on the backlog of calls and of call outs and of maintenance, etc. People are saying in their numbers are saying, can we not work to rule? If it's not legal, can we be balloted to work to rule? Quite a consistent question.
Yeah, well, that's one of the issues. It's how BT can recover fairly quickly on it. Times are changing, the weather's changing, things happen. And it is quite clear that the network is more resilient now than it was, say, a few years back. They do recover. It does take them quite a while, but doing this action was suggested, it was going to take them a good bit longer to recover from this than what we've done in the past. On the work to rule, we have looked at this and we've considered that quite clearly we can't tell our members to work to rule anything just now, because the ballot and the legislation is quite clear, the law is quite clear on that, so we can't do that, and we wouldn't do that, obviously. But can we ballot for that? Yes, we can. We have decided not to at this point in time, but we are giving it serious consideration. So it is a distinct possibility we will go down that route, because we'll use, as Dave said again about the long haul, we'll use whatever way we can. And if it's a mixture of strikes and a mixture of potentially work to rule, overtime bans, etc., if that's the way we think it's the best way to get the company to see sense, well, that's what we'll do. So I'll certainly say quite clearly we are giving it serious consideration at this point.
Thank you, Andy. That's great stuff, mate. So loads of you watching online, loads of you got good questions, got loads of them to go through with the team here before we clock off tonight. One of the things we always do in these sessions is make it clear to you that management will be watching this session. They will be basically monitoring the comments. They'll be taking a sense check of those comments and basically wondering where we're at as a union, wondering where you guys are at. So it'll be fantastic now if you could put in the comment, I will be on strike. So BT and Openreach can see just the level of support. So if you could put in the comments, I will be on strike, then we'll get as many of those as we possibly can up on screen, because that sends a clear message to BT and Openreach, who will be watching the session tonight and seeing what support the union has for the action that's forthcoming. Karen, quite a few people as well are saying that we need to get it stuck into Phil Jansen on the session and the senior management team. People saying that we're not calling them out enough, given the way they're treating our members.
Yeah, that's fairly consistent feedback. We've had an awful lot of emails, and the branches are telling us that that's what the members are saying. And I suppose that it's a bit like anything. At the end of the day, that is quite clearly, we have to listen to the members' views, and that is what we will clearly have to do. I think actually we have called them out, and particularly we've called out the CEO around basically his salary, the fact that he had a 32% pay rise on the share dividend that he had as a result of the number of shares he's got. He said something like £400,000, nearly £500,000 virtually in payout for shares. I think we worked out that Philip Jansen's share dividend actually would pay the average weekly food bill for an average two-person household for 131 years. So there have been things where we've been calling them out. Today at the briefing, what was made clear to us is that we need to extend that and look at other executives and what they've had as well. And that's what we intend to do. So I agree with the people that are putting that forward, and that is what we will be doing in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Karen. Dave, one of the questions that's come up around it is around the Labour Party and the Labour leadership. Someone's actually asked specifically if yourself and Andy have met with the Labour leadership on this issue and what we'll be doing to gain their support or attack them if we don't gain their support in the coming weeks.
Yeah, if I can, I would want to link the last question that Karen answered in respect of calling out Phil Jansen more and say that we expect the Labour Party to do that more as well. Yeah. Yes, we have met the Labour Party. Myself and Andy met Angela Rayner a few weeks back now. They did do some good things at that point, but not enough in our view. And I'm due to meet Keir Starmer tomorrow and we'll be raising this issue with him. We've also got the Labour conference next week where the union submits motions. We've submitted 2 motions, and one of the motions, which I might ask Karen to move, will be a platform to talk about the BT dispute in front of hopefully the cameras, but certainly in front of the Labour leadership, and you'll all be able to watch that. So, you know, we are on the case of Labour. I think that Labour, you know, have got to stop sitting on the fence. As is often known, if you sit on the fence, you get splinters in your backside. They've got to jump off the fence and they've got to get behind working people. And we're confident that, you know, we are putting them under serious pressure to do that. But, you know, there's a big debate going on about should they be on picket lines. And there have been a lot of Labour MPs, we've got to be honest about this. They have turned up and shown their support at picket lines up and down the UK. We're expecting more of them to do that. We've briefed the MPs separately. We've sent out a full briefing on the dispute, all the facts and all the figures. We'll keep doing that. And we expect more of them next time round. But I also think it's important that Labour, you know, decide to enter the debate and make it absolutely clear that it cannot be acceptable in Britain today that the level of money that they're taking out of the company and the way that they're treating the workforce, all key workers. That will be our request to Labour. We want them to enter the debate. We want them to say things at PMQs. We want them to make it clear that they're standing up for working people. What was interesting politically, obviously there's a new Prime Minister. I watched one of the interviews, I think it was today, I'm losing track of the days, there's so much going on at the moment, earlier on today. And broadband and the infrastructure of broadband was one of the things that she actually mentioned in her answer. One of the 2 or 3 things that she thought was really important that we started moving forward. So clearly there's going to be pressure on BT to step up to the plate. And, you know, I think we've got to make it clear to the government as well that their minimum requirement should be to get BT in the room. So all of that will be taken care of. We'll be putting that pressure on. And, you know, anything you can do, talking to local MPs and getting them to support us will help us and help the dispute in that way.
Thank you, Dave. Andy, quite a few people, a lot of support, by the way, for the decision to us, the announcement we made tonight around 999 members withdrawing. Some people saying, you know, it should have been happening from the start. Other people saying great news, but there's a small chunk of people saying, you know, and I think it's understandable, won't that result in really negative publicity for us, you know, and like we, you know, and people are saying, I know we're asking for media coverage, but not that type of media coverage. So a little bit, I suppose, about how we intend to manage that.
Well, yeah, I can understand that in some respects, but let's be clear, and let's be clear, you know, in any media, anybody speaking to anybody in the press, etc. We didn't do this, you know, and the reason that I'll go back to what you said, that some people didn't think we should have started from that position. Well, we didn't, because we thought quite clearly the right thing to do for the British public was to keep that 99 services going. But we also thought that BT were going to be sensible and come to the table and start to negotiate so we could get through this dispute. It's quite clear now after 4 days of industrial action, BT don't want to do it. So it's not the CWU that's withdrawn this. Let's be clear. It's BT and BT's decision that's done this. It's BT that has driven us to this position, not us. It's BT. So we want to put the blame on this, put the blame on 999, put it at the door of Philip Jansen, put it exactly where it should be. He's the guy that can resolve this. He can resolve this tomorrow if he wanted to. If he wants to resolve it tomorrow, well, let's pick up the phone, let's get in the room, and let's start negotiating. But, you know, the 999 will be a major issue. We don't want to cause anybody any harm. We don't want to cause the British citizens any sort of real issues. And we do withdraw, as I said before, just a load of our call-outs issues that could affect many things in this country, including the security of this country. And I'll hasten to add, because that's where some of our workers are aligned to. You know, so somebody in government better wake up to this. Somebody at the head of BT better wake up to what's going on. And I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. We are willing to negotiate. Get us in the room, put a proposal to us, and as Dave said earlier, we'll come up with some other ideas. But the position first is BT must come with an opening proposal to us. Then we can start to negotiate around that. And we are willing to look at all types of ways to resolve this. And there is many ways we can resolve this for now and for the future. And we are willing to do that. But I'll say I won't take any lectures from anybody in BT or anywhere else about the CWU or this union is putting people's lives at risk. It's because the company, it's BT, it's putting people's lives at risk, and people should understand that.
Thank you, Andy. Spot on. And Darren W gets in behind that, and he says 999 services on strike. Why is that a CWU problem? Janssen and BT can stop it at any time by putting a proper offer on the table. We're not the baddies here. We're willing to talk and move forward. BT are the villains. So spot on. Darren, if you agree with that and you want BT back around the table, just put time to talk in the comments now, and we'll share as many of those as we possibly can. So nice and simple, time to talk, because we know senior management will be watching this session. Let's send them the loudest possible message on the need to get back in negotiations. Karen, quite a few people are asking, I think it was Andy or yourself that mentioned that on a strike day, we're going to be like mixing it up now. We'll obviously be having picket lines, we'll be having a media coverage that we're seeking, but we will also talk about some form of event. So people are saying, like, could we hold rallies in town centres? You know, could we be leafleting the public? What can our members be doing on strike days? What will we be putting forward?
Yeah, well, you've mentioned two things there, Chris. And again, when we had the briefing today and we were talking to all of our branches, they were coming up with ideas as well. And I think what we're going to see now going forward is there's going to be more local initiatives in the regions, in the branches, in localities. And absolutely, it's not just about picket lines on strike days. It is true that, you know, our members, they can be out in town centres, they can be out anyway, basically, handing out the leaflets, which is the information about the reasons why they are taking industrial action. It is really important. Dave touched on it earlier. You know, I think there's a huge amount of sympathy in this country at the moment. You know, what we've seen on picket lines is it's been incredible, the public support. You know, where picket lines are in remote locations, we've had members of the public coming over and saying to them, anytime you want to use the washroom facilities, or anytime you want a hot drink, cup of tea or a cup of coffee, come over. And we've had members of the public offering our pickets the ability to use their own homes. We've had members of the public turning up and delivering cakes and bottles of water and other, you know, drinks. We've had members of the public walking past and offering monetary donations. There is no doubt that there is a fantastic level of support out there with the members of the public. During the last strike on the Wednesday, there was a picket which was local to me, and I went along to spend some time with them, and I actually went to get them some refreshments from a local cafe. So I went along to the local cafe and said, you know, I've come to get some sandwiches and things for the guys who are outside the local exchange because they're on strike. And the people in the cafe were saying, good for them, good for them. We're really glad that these workers are standing up in this country. So I think I think, yes, there are lots of things that our members can be doing out there. I think we are expecting to see more local activities, more events that members and their families can take part in. The number of children that we've seen on picket lines, you know, and the children have been having a whale of a time there, you know, joining their parents and their parents' colleagues on the picket lines. I think that what we need to do is, look, the one thing that I do want to say is taking strike action is always a last resort. We've said that from the outset, but at least what we can do is we can make those events the best they can possibly be, that they can do. They can actually have some fun, I suppose, on the days that they are out there and holding these sort of events, because I know that people have had barbecues and they've had picnics sitting on the picket lines, and there is no doubt that now what we want to see is some local events that actually involve more people, the more members can take part in, and they can feel really part of this action and that they're actually doing something practical themselves.
Thank you, Karen. Brilliant. Quite a few members are saying, why don't we get time to talk trending on workplace? So that's a job for all of you. Get on there after the session, put a bit of pressure on management. Dave, quite a bit of worry that we've got a new PM, Liz Truss, who's setting out, you know, quite publicly really to attack the unions, reduce unions' rights, reduce workers' rights. People are saying, like, is our continued action playing into Liz Truss's hands? Do you fear her? Should the union fear her?
No, we don't fear politicians in that sense. We try to persuade them the right way to move forward. And, you know, wherever that goes, that's up to Liz Truss in terms of what she decides to do with new legislation against unions. I think they're looking to pick a fight. I would acknowledge that point. But we've got lots of other things that we're doing at the moment. Andy referenced it at the start of the session. And we've got a campaign that's running alongside the disputes called Enough's Enough. We're going around rallying people around the country. And that's about really shining a light on the whole problem that's in the world of work today, that's in society, which is a structural imbalance of power and wealth. And we're getting a huge response on that. And it will be through that campaign that we start to sort of deal with this government if they come forward with legislation. You know, I'm going to say this, I do believe that the government are watching very closely what we're doing. And one of the reasons that they moved to go further than what Labour was asking for on the energy bills, not far enough by any stretch, but one of the reasons they've done that is because of the campaign that we're running around the country. Make no mistake, they're watching, you know, what we're doing at the moment. And I think that we will get broad public support as these disputes continue. What's important is that in any political kind of campaign that we're running, that it has a direct link to the world of work and to supporting our members in the industries that they're in. And, you know, what I will say to you is we will never mix the two up. We are focused on resolving this dispute and we're going to continue to do that. But our resolve is stronger than ever, and it's on both fronts in that sense. And you will see more and more public support as we move forward, and that's what we're aiming to do through our Enough's Enough campaign. So no fear of a new PM, a new challenge. I think it'd be very interesting politically to see what develops. But there's a sense in the country at the moment, and you're picking this up everywhere, that people genuinely want to see something different. They want to see politicians who are acting in a fairer way when it comes to some of these companies. And I do not believe that, you know, taking away the cap on bankers' bonuses is actually going to appeal to people in this country. There's an imbalance of power and wealth, and it starts in the boardroom, and we're here to change that and get you the deal that you deserve.
Thank you, Dave. Andy, quite a few questions. Actually, I mean, try and frame this because quite a few questions come in. When we have, like, say, the railways go on strike, you see, like, the government ministers, like Shapps and others, you know, terribly performing, but they're on the media making the case. Like in Royal Mail, again, terribly performing, but we've had a bit of media from Simon Thompson. We've had, MDs and other people who have come on and defended the Royal Mail position. But when in the BT strike days, we've had radio silence from BT. They've not put anyone forward in the media. Will we, is the question, will we be exposing that? Will we be going at them? Will we be saying, where are the leadership of BT, you know, and will we be pressurising them and almost attempting, I suppose, to force them to come out and defend their undefendable position?
Yeah, well, but of course we've been trying to do that, and we'll continue to do that, Chris. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. I mean, they've just went away. You know, I've offered on a couple of occasions now to have a debate if Mr. Johnson, I'll say again tonight, if Mr. Johnson wants to have a public debate with me on the questions of whether the affordability of a decent pay rise for our members, I'm willing to do it any day of the week. To let them see if, you know, that's the point. You know, is the sort of faceless wonders of the company. They sit back there, make these big decisions that you know, really impinges on our members' lives, but they're not willing to face it up. You know, he might hide behind a couple of videos that he's done, which have went down. Actually, probably done more for our campaign and some of the stuff that we've done. I think every time he speaks, we get more support from him. But that's not the reason for that. But it's Dave, I think Dave said it earlier. The media should be, you know, what's going on with this company? It's a major British FTSE 100 company. It's a major company in this country. You know, and I think we should expose it. Where's the media when we talk about the money that's coming from this company, created by our members, get into a British company that's gone abroad, you know, whether it's to Germany or to a Swiss bank or wherever. Where's the media about that? Where all this profits, a couple of $100 million, is going out of the country. You would thought the media might pick up on that, but no, they don't seem to do that. And where is Johnson and Co. to defend it? You know, so let's hear from them. And I think we should call them. You know, we want them. I mean, personally, I want this resolved. I want him or whoever he dedicates in his place to come into a room, put a proposal, let's sit and talk about it, and let's get to a position. Karen and I and others are willing to meet anytime, day or night, over the next couple of weeks to do it. But it takes him to come to it. So yeah, absolutely, he should be in the media. Absolutely, should be defending it. You know, what's he doing with his own shareholders? How's he defending this to his own shareholders? I don't think they're even doing that. Where are the faceless wonders in this board that's in BT who are making all these decisions? You know, these people have to be exposed. These people are accountable for the position we're in. They're the ones that's made the decision. Okay, the front man is Philip Johnson, but the others are just as guilty as he is because they are defending his position. So if he's making the decisions and he's made it quite clear, it's his decision. It's not people below him. It's him. It's his decision. So if it's his decision, get them into the public. Let's have the discussion. Let him defend his position to the general public. Because you know, what Karen and Dave has just said there, you know, it's turning in this country. And that's why we're getting support. Whether it's our dispute, whether it's Royal Mail, whether it's RMT, ASLEF, TSSA, the teachers' unions, or whatever. There's you know, this whole country is going through a crisis. Everybody understands it. The only reason there's not as many people on strike as we probably like in some respects is because of the legislation that's in this country, and also because, you know, they can't. They're in companies that got, you know, some companies can't afford a pay rise. I accept that. There's some companies, smaller companies that might be in a position. BT is not in that position, and neither is Royal Mail. Now I'll throw that in, and neither is some of the other places within strike. But these people need to be accountable. They should come into it. And they should be able to, if they really believe their case, and I believe that Philip Johnson does believe what he's saying is correct. Well, let him get out there and get onto the BBC or Sky or some other news channel and let him defend himself in public to that. We'll put our position and he can put his position. Because I don't believe the general public will listen to one bit of it. You know, the wealthy in this country are getting wealthier over the last few years, and the poorer are getting very much poorer. And it's the working people. It's, you know, there's always been a sort of poor and a bit of an underclass in some respects in this country. But it's the working poor that's the real issue. People who are in jobs Working for a blue chip company and working for just over the real living wage is a disgrace.
Thank you, Andy. Spot on. Dave, quite a few questions saying, what about the discussions with the shareholders? Why haven't they taken place already? We've committed to that.
Yeah, so we've been working on that. It's not easy to pull that together, but we are now advanced in that. We've speaking to 2 different groups of people who liaise with shareholders. And the purpose of it is an important development because, and we will get it moving before the next strike action. The purpose of it is obviously to explain to shareholders that if the board carry on in the way that they are at the moment, we're not walking away from it, that they are damaging the future of BT and they're damaging their investment. The other purpose of it is to actually say to these guys, if you don't start putting the right pressure on, then you become a target in this dispute as well. You are backing the reality of what the board have done. They've lined your pockets, but that's not right. And I think there is a moral argument that we could put to anybody in the UK today to make it clear that this cannot continue. So, you know, that will start taking place before the next strike, and we'll play that into the media coverage as well, because I think it will have an impact. And, you know, I mean, I want to sort of say to what people are saying tonight about Jansen not appearing on the media, you know, the point, and I mean, the guy's clearly afraid of facing the media. That's the truth of it. And when people are afraid of facing the media, then that tells you that they're not confident about their arguments. It's as simple as that. And, you know, part of what we got to do tonight here is call this guy out as long as it takes, because we ain't going away. And he better understand that. And I think he is learning that. We know that they don't like the publicity being shined on them, but they deserve it, and they deserve even more, and we're going to give them more.
Thank you, Dave. Brilliant. Andy, Karen, sorry. One of the questions that's been asked is around people were saying, we understand the point I made about the media. I think they can definitely see that the 999 decision will gain us more media. I've just been sharing a couple of media articles actually already have been picked up since the announcement that you made earlier on. So that's clear that is going to get some traction. But, you know, taking what we've said about the media and their bias into account, people are saying we need to be doing more with our own communications, more on social media, more attacks on the company, more exposing, more things people can share with their friends and family. So to you, Karen, will we be doing that in the coming days and weeks?
Yes, we will. And we made that commitment again. That's another commitment that we've already made today. We definitely are going to ramp up the social media content in particular. And we have also made a commitment to ensuring that we communicate more with the members. But look, I do want to explain something. So I know there's been some people have said, oh, well, it's all gone quiet. Well, that does always happen, right? Because after we've taken industrial action, we always need to consider and analyze the impact before we decide what we're going to do next. And if there has been nothing new that is created at that point in time, because it does take us at least a week or so to really gather the proper information about the impact of the strike. So yes, there is usually, after the strike action, there's usually a period of quiet, but that's not because we're not doing anything. That is because what we are doing is we're reflecting on the action, we're analysing the impact, and then we're making a decision, a tactical decision, or even a strategic decision about what it is that we should do next. So that is the reason why sometimes there are gaps. But to the point about social media and you know, about calling out the CEO and other executives, yes, that is something that we do intend to do more of, and I think you will see that playing out in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Karen. Spot on. So we're getting towards the end of the session now. So if you're ready to back the union, you're going to take the message into the workplace tomorrow and beyond. Just let us know. Just put simply CW and proud in the comments. I'll get as many of those as I possibly can to CW and proud and show that you're going to be out, you're going to back the union, and you're also going to get out there and you're going to convince your colleagues to take strike action as well. Over 11,000 people have watched the session so far. That's fantastic. and we really, really do appreciate your support. Just one more question for you, Andy, and I'm going to give everyone a chance to round up, and that question is around working with other unions. Dave, you might want to comment on this one as well, where people are saying, can we, should we be aligning our strikes together? Basically, is it time for a general strike? So a bit of Andy, a bit of Dave. Andy.
It's probably more Dave than me. That's one, but I mean, I'll put my problems worth in, and Dave can chastise me if he wants. No, I mean, look, I don't think we're in the position of having a general strike. I don't think that's necessarily, and I did say this a few weeks ago. But should we be working with other unions? Yes. And do we work with other unions? Yes. Dave speaks to other general secretaries on a regular basis, and there is some coordination. I think if we can do some of that stuff, we should do. There is going to be a situation, I'm led to believe. I think I'm right, and Dave will correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the Royal Mail strikes is coming up. Days is it the same day as I think some of the rail strikes is going to take place. So there is, it wasn't coordinated in as much as we agreed with each other that we'd do it. It just so happens it is. But if you think about what's happening in the country, where there's local councils, the workers are on strike, teachers are going on strike in different parts of the country. The health service is talking about coming out and strike. We've got Royal Mail, we've got BT, we've got other rail unions. There's masses of strikes. So I think it's going to get worse over the next few months, and unions will have to start to speak together a bit more. And we are, we are at the Labour Party conference next week, and no doubt some conversations will take place there. It's probably around some of the motions that we're putting in. And then we're going to the TUC in another 2 or 3 weeks. And I think that, and I'll certainly leave that to Dave to say something on that. But I would like to think, personally, at the TUC, there's a coming together of minds and a coming together of trade unions supporting some campaigns. And, obviously the enough is enough campaign is, I think I'm right in saying, Dave, is the one, certainly we want everybody else to come behind that. But I think Dave's better to speak about it than me.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you do both things. You focus on your own dispute, and it's important that our members, we completely understand those who are saying, let's get all unions together. We support that under certain conditions. And, one of those conditions is that we don't want to lose focus on our own dispute. And every union will tell you the same. So, if an offer comes along, and you think that's a good offer and you've negotiated a settlement, well, we settle that dispute. What we're trying to say to you is we are working with other unions. We're working with community groups. We're building a campaign that is going to fundamentally shift the balance of forces in the world of work, because it can't go on. And what BT are doing, they're almost fueling that campaign by their actions at board level. That campaign is going on over to the side here under the Enough's Enough banner, and we will be putting propositions to the TUC. No doubt we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about it at the Labour Party conference as well, to galvanise and mobilise working people. Working people need to come together like never before and shift some of the big issues that are holding families back, are holding the country back, really. And the political solution that the Tories are putting forward isn't going to do it. If I'm honest, Labour are not doing enough to set out their vision. Well, we're going to do it for them. But I'm repeatedly saying to you, whilst we're doing that, we will never lose focus on our own dispute, because that's important to all the members who have voted. So we do both is the true answer. And I think you will see a mass mobilisation of working people in this country in the coming weeks and months, because I don't think people are willing to put up with anymore what is coming out of political leaders. And it's our job to do that, but it's our job to connect it in a way that benefits our members and the industries that our members work in. So rest assured, we're on it. I think we're probably the leading union in that debate, and we're going to continue to be in that place.
Thank you, Dave. So just to reassure members, before I give everyone on the panel a last word, that we're going to be coming out with loads and loads of communications, loads of information on an ongoing basis from now right up until the action, first bout of action that takes place later in the month, next month, sorry. But I want to now start rounding up, so I'll give you all a minute or so, starting with yourself. Karen, for your final messages.
So thank you, Chris. And thank you to everybody for coming on here tonight. And for those of you who are even watching on catch up, thank you for watching this session. I think my message tonight is the same one that I've probably been conveying from the very beginning of the dispute, and that's one of unity. And what I would say is now we've had the benefit of having seen strike action taken over 4 days over the last couple of months. And out there on the picket lines, and I've visited as many as I possibly have been able to, which is not always easy when geographically they're quite spaced apart, and you're trying to get round so many in a day. But what has been overwhelming is the camaraderie, the support, the absolute commitment to the dispute that I've been able to see among the members that are out there, but also in the feedback that we're getting, in the messages we get on Facebook, and the emails we get, on the messages into branches. What is absolutely fantastic is the solidarity, is the unity, is the fact that everybody's sticking together, and it is that will win us the dispute. So stand together. We have to continue to stand together, because by sticking together, actually, you can't be the old saying, which is divide and conquer. Well, actually, we must not let anything divide us. So we have to stick together. We have to stay united. And that is my message to everybody tonight.
Thank you, Karen. That's brilliant. Andy, final message from you?
Yeah, well, obviously I agree with everything that Karen has just said, but yeah, it is about, we understand this is going to cause some issues for some people, what we're doing, but we think we're absolutely right in what we're putting forward here. It is about your future, as we said. There's the dispute now, but it is about the future, and we can't allow the bosses in BT to get away with their imposition of things. Again, even today, they've imposed, without any discussion with the unions, the issue about returning to work for some people, some desk-based people. These are the sort of things that this company is about to do. This is not the way we've worked. We've had many, many decades of good employment relations with BT, good employment relations. It's changed over the last 2 or 3 years. And as I've said a few times before, it's not the CW that's changed. We are exactly the same. And our attitude is exactly the same. What's changed is the leadership in the company. And the leadership is wrong. It's as simple as that. So we can get this back on track. Please support us in this action that we're putting forward. We hope that BT will come round the table in the next few days. I say we're willing to work for them. We'll do everything we can possibly can. And I will say, and as I've said in a couple of these occasions before, whatever we get to, if we get a deal with the company that we think is acceptable, one thing I will commit to quite clearly, and BT have to sign up to it, is we will put it to the members to decide in the democratic way that they're used to and have done for many decades. This is the first time a pay has been imposed. It should never happen. It should never have happened, and it will never happen again as far as the CW is concerned. So we'll argue the case with the company whenever we can, but please support us in this action. It's sticking together, as Karen says, is the real thing. Persuade your fellow workers to come out in these days of action. It's really important that we get as many people out in action. If we can get them in local events, great. If they can join the big event that we're going to run, that would be absolutely brilliant. But we will stick together and we'll win this dispute.
Thank you, Andy. Fantastic. Dave, final word from yourself.
Yeah, great meeting today with our branches and our reps. Totally supportive of the decision of the executive to escalate the dispute. You've heard our plans tonight, and you have a role in this now. We know that this has been the first engagement for a while. We're going to really build that up again towards the strike action. And your role in that is to talk to your fellow colleagues at work and make sure that we get that support on that strike day. Go in tomorrow, start talking to your managers and tell them you are totally standing behind this trade union. We're never going to walk away from this dispute. I want to make that absolutely clear tonight. All of us are of the same view. the executive, the branches today. What BT are doing is wrong. It's morally wrong. They can afford a better pay deal. They're just choosing to treat the workforce with utter contempt. We know who the enemy is in this sense, and we've got to come together and stand together. Stand with the union. We're the people who've got your interests at heart, and we will win this dispute.
Thank you, Dave. So first of all, thank you to Dave, Karen and Andy. So did a great job, I think, answering a massive range of questions there. More importantly, though, thank you to all of you who've come on. Please take the message back out into the workplace. We'll be sharing loads and loads of communications in the coming weeks to make sure everyone is ready to take action on the dates that have been called, and we'll be coming out with you and engaging you on that. Thanks to everyone who's joined us tonight. Take care, everyone, and good night.
Cheers.
Good night.